It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. I need to wear my headphones to do this. Hi. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Thanks for listening on any of the podcast services that you listen on. I appreciate it. Thanks to the Patreon members, Sean Widmer Podcast, patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast. Thank you for supporting the podcast. It means a lot. Keeps the lights on. Keeps this podcast going. Without you, it's not possible. So truly, thank you for that. That means a lot. Let's go. If there's a 5-star review, we read it to kick off the podcast. And for the first time since July 31st, Nick Timer hit it up with the 5-star review and said this. We read it here to kick it off. In honor of this 5-star rating, I will now provide a list of 5-star Notre Dame football recruits from 247 dating back to 2010. Bryce Young, Michael Mayer, Kyle Hamilton, Tommy Kramer, Jalen Smith, Gunnar Kiel, and Aaron Lynch. Nick, really? This is what it's for, right? That's what it's for. Get me to say the things and talk about the things I don't want to talk about. Real quick, Notre Dame football, since Nick left the 5-star review. Thank you, Nick, over there on iTunes. Notre Dame is needed for the 12-team playoff, right? I know I'm not a Notre Dame. I'm not a Notre Dame guy. I've got two sports things. We're going to talk to Ryan Ferguson here in a second, and we're going to talk about iPhone 16 and some tech stuff and just catch up because I love Ferg. But two sports things. Notre Dame's good for the 12. So I know they have a bad loss, but they've got a decent schedule the rest of the way through. They've got USC to end their season. I'm not a Notre Dame guy, but I also know a 12-team tournament is better with Notre Dame in it, right? There's a couple teams you want in there, like Notre Dame, that have a huge fan base, and for me, are great to see lose. And for people like Nick, who are dumb and bad at choosing sports teams, my buddy Rob, my buddy Michael, I don't know why they did this, but they'll be so excited if their team wins, and they just build more hatred from the rest of us about Notre Dame football. So I'm interested in watching them this season. I've been paying attention. I got to say, the 12-team postseason in college football has got me paying more attention to college football this year. Like the Cougs, right? The Cougs, undefeated right now. If they run the table, you can't leave them out. You can't leave them out of the 12. And so there's a lot of work to be done to get there. I get that for both the teams I just talked about. There's a lot of work. But if you are projecting and guessing, it's going to be crazy. Okay, the other sports thing. Speaking of Michael, I called Michael today. I talked to Michael about this, talked to Ryan about this. Shohei Ohtani tonight went into the night with 49 steals on the season and 48 home runs with 10, 11 games left, I think it was, for the Dodgers. And no player in the history of baseball has hit 50 home runs and got 50 stolen bases in the same season. No one has done it. Okay. And like Barry Bonds has insane stats and is probably my favorite baseball player of all time. I love Barry Bonds. Love him. And I am a firm believer that he is the best baseball player up to this point. But I will listen to Shohei talk. I will officially listen to Shohei talk. I think he's the best ever. And that's the trajectory, but also where we're at right now. Pitcher and hitter, has won all the games pitching, and now he's just a machine hitting. And he's the only player in history to go 50-50. The feather in the cap is going to be, can he win? Like, do they win a World Series? That would be enormous for him in that long-term discussion. And then, of course, there's longevity, and can he keep it up? And then what do the numbers look like at the end of the career? But as athletes get better, as pitching gets harder to hit, as everything improves, right? Everyone gets more athletic. Everything is up. The ante is upped in all sports. No sport is getting worse. You take players from the 60s. Oh, well, Mickey Mantle's the best player ever. Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, they're the best players ever. Everyone who's playing today is more athletic than 90% of the guys who played back then. Everything is harder to do now, okay? And so a guy like Shohei, who's doing things that have never happened before against harder competition, man, that's tough. And so I don't like the Dodgers. I don't like the Angels. I do not like the team Shohei has played for. But just as a neutral observer of sports, which I love being able to do, he's the best, man. He's the best player. I wish he was flashier. That's where I'm standing. I don't like Shohei. I'm not cheering for Shohei. But, I mean, the numbers don't lie. And the fact that, again, I got sidetracked. The fact that tonight he started out with 49 stolen bases and 48 home runs. And over the next week and a half, he needed to get 2 homers and 1 stolen base. Got the stolen base immediately. So it was like, okay, we're now on Shohei watch for 2 homers in the next week and a half. And he hit 3 home runs tonight and went 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs. What is that? What is that? The Dodgers scored 20, but what is 6 for 6 with 3 homers in the most pressure situation? It wasn't just a, freewheeling game. The clock is on. Timer has started. You need 2 home runs in 2 weeks. Can you do it? The pressure tightens, and Shohei was like, I'll get it done in 1 game. I don't want pressure the rest of the way through. He might get 60-60. Like, for real, he might get 60-60. That's a joke and not a joke. Let's talk to Ryan about iPhone 16. Here he is. All right, we welcome Ryan onto the podcast. It's been a long while since he's been on. Ferg, I guess this will release on iPhone Day, but technically we're recording on iPhone's Eve. You and I are big day of release phone guys, and you are getting the iPhone 16 tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I don't need it, and we could talk about the features and all of that, but it is still it's almost a nostalgia thing of like getting it on launch day. There's something just so fun about it.
We've talked about
the whole week leading up to it.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the podcast before, our love for the buildup of phones coming out, and we've been obsessed with them since the mid-2000s, when every year the phones were getting crazier and crazier, and they don't get as crazy now, but they do get better, and it's still exciting.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And to be fair, it wasn't just phones. I remember video game release where it's like the whole weeks leading up to it, you're reading rumors or stories or reviews and then waiting in line or going with you to what was it, Hastings?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
That we'd go and get it at midnight or whatever?
Yeah. We love that stuff. It's fun to get excited. And like you said, the lead up. So I haven't been following as much this week. A little bit today. I cheated a bit today and looked online. What are the things right now people are excited about and maybe unexcited about with the 16?
I feel like I've heard more. For this one, I feel a little bit more negative feelings where people wanted a bigger update. Now, I don't necessarily think that, but they didn't change the design much. They did make them bigger. Now, I get the Pro phones. Do I need the Pro phones? No, I don't. I am technically a professional videographer, but I don't use my phone for that as much. But I still talk myself into needing the Pro phones. So I'm getting a 16 Pro Max. And the 16 Pro, which my wife will get, and the 16 Pro Max, which I get, are incrementally, they made the bezels a little smaller and the phone just slightly bigger. And so I'm excited about that. This phone is massive, but I've heard from reviewers that even though the 15 Pro Max, which is what I have now, is a big phone, it will feel even bigger with the 16 Pro. And I just like a big phone. You know, give me an iPad mini and call it my phone.
Wait, hang on. Okay, Ryan, I think we've talked about this, and I forgot when you transitioned to this. I thought you and I had gone back to liking a smaller phone. Yeah,
we did. That was for the 10, let's see, the 11, 12, I think it was the 13. I went to the small one.
Yeah.
13 and 14, I had the small ones, and I talked myself into that those were better. And they are way easier to use. I probably am going to have arthritis in my pinky on my right hand because of how big and heavy these phones are. But the deal breaker for me was battery life. I was so tired of a battery dying every day. And so I knew the Max had the best possible battery life. So I switched I think it was actually the 15, this one, I switched to the Max. and I'll never go back, dude.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest. A big phone is just, it's too good.
So I'm going to go back to a big phone the next time I get
You
a
gotta
phone.
go. You gotta go
I'm
back.
going back.
Absolutely.
I've realized how much I have. I got a really nice stand for it at work where it's the magnet
there you
one
go.
that just has it right in front of you. And so I don't need to even use my pinky anymore, right? So
Right, that is helpful.
I want the max. By the way, Ryan had mentioned that he films weddings. Have you thought of this slogan before where you go, Ferguson Films, hire us for your weddings, and if you're married, get divorced, get remarried to somebody else, and we'll film that wedding?
I haven't thought about that, but that is a fun idea.
And then have
I
a
feel
really
like
good
I could
video.
also-
So it's your best video. It's like
Yeah.
our videos are so good, they're better than your current marriage.
Maybe I could talk people into really making vow renewals, which I personally think are silly most of the time.
Yeah, unless they're
but
paying
maybe
you.
I could
Unless
talk
they're
people into
paying you.
that and just be like, you gotta renew your vows and have a big party and pay me a lot of money to film it. So maybe that could be the next thing. But I like the whole divorce get remarried thing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna pay again, if they pay you, this is all
To be honest
contingent on
with
if
you,
they.
yeah, if they pay me, I don't really care what it is.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, we think.
I'll work for money.
Oh, did you hear me say I thought vow renewals were silly? Not if you're paying me. Favorite thing. I love vow renewals.
That's right. I love them.
Speaking
love 'em.
of filming with your phone, and this is down a different rabbit trail. I had a guy in my office today who does videography for our company, and I asked him if he had ever watched Casey Neistat, and his reaction was like, "Yeah," but it wasn't like it should be. He truly is the king of filming with a cell phone, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just the king of content anywhere and making anything look. I mean, granted, he's in New York, but still, the shots, everything that he would get, whether it was a phone or a small DSLR or a GoPro, it all is so good and so beautiful and so rich with storytelling. 100%, he's the king. If you're a quality videographer, I think you have to love Casey Neistat. I'd be worried if they don't.
If they didn't, because that was whenever I think of a phone, and it's like, what am I going to film on my phone? Casey Neistat always had enough shots in his videos where he would be filming himself in a reflection, and it was his phone, so you knew it was his phone filming, and then it would make you feel like, wait a second, I could film a Casey Neistat video. You couldn't. Well, I couldn't. You could.
No,
you couldn't
right.
if you're just a
Well,
normal
no,
average Joe who doesn't edit. But it made you feel like it. So then it also made me feel like I wanted the new phone. Are the cameras way better on the 16?
Yeah. So they have been improved, and so there's a lot of sort of talk in the hyper nerd community about what iPhone is doing with their photos, and basically they are over processing them by trying to boost the shadows so that you have detail in the shadows and bring down the highlights so that you have you have a lot of information in the highlights. So we call this dynamic range. The problem is that when you do that too much, your photos can just kind of look gray or flat or lackluster. And so people have been really complaining, especially at the 15, about these cameras. In the 16, it sounds like they've gone even further in that direction. However, they've now added a few new features that you can both use on the front end, and this is what's new, on the back end of post-processing. So essentially, you take a photo and it looks a little washed out. You can apply, they've got tone mapping, and you can apply a new, I think they call them styles.
Okay.
And you can do that to your photos after you take them, not just on the front end. You can do it on the front end and after. So,
Wow.
So it sounds like for the real nerdy photography people that like to, pixel peep at them and look at all the shadows and all that crap, we will be happy because we have a lot of control over that. For the average person, really what it means is each photo is I think they said 25 megabytes more in size, which is already giant. Maybe it wasn't 25, maybe it was 15. But either way, it means that your photos are now bigger. And that also means that your iCloud storage is going to run out sooner.
Yeah.
And all 4 photos of your kid or your dog that don't actually need to have all this information. But this is the world we live in now.
Okay. You've brought up a lot of things that I want to talk about, but I'll touch on this one because You make me think of it. I know you're not a big social media guy, and I like it. I like Instagram, and I know you don't really love it. But I will tell you a deep dive I got on maybe 2 weeks ago. I was looking at pictures because some came up on my phone where someone had taken a picture and I thought it was a really cool picture. And their hashtag was like camera photo or camera photography or something. And I clicked it and I was like, if all of these pictures were taken with someone's camera, we really are underappreciating how awesome of a time we live in where you can just take your camera out and take really awesome, beautiful pictures to look at.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's crazy. And if you go back and look, even in your own Instagram feed, go to the very first photos you were taking back when we had Friday Photo Dump on Google.
Oh, so
what was that called?
Friday Photo on Google Circles. Google
Circles? No, it wasn't. What was it, dude? Wave? No.
What was the Google social media?
Google Plus.
And who was in your circle?
Oh,
you had circles inside Google Plus.
Circles were how they. That's right. You had different circles of people. But dude, those photos, those early phone photos, are so far away from even what the DSLRs or cameras were taking at the time. It was so different. And now you look at what the phones can do, and it is pretty stinking cool.
I love it. Well, I'm excited.
So that's the big update. Like that's the camera update, the screen, and then. With these phones, like it doesn't matter how good the battery life is. A year goes by and you're already unhappy with it. Like my phone's at 34% right now, and I feel like it should be more than that. So I am excited for a new battery. And then they added a button to control the camera. So camera was kind of the big thing. That has a couple cool features. Will it be useful or not? Probably not. I've talked myself into that it will be useful to help justify why I'm upgrading to a new phone when I don't necessarily need one.
You need it. It also, can I tell you another reason you need a new phone?
Tell me.
You're selling yourself to people, right?
Good point.
Ryan, I'm a firm believer if you're in any kind of sales thing. I know you're not in sales, but you want people to hire you to film their vows, right? To re-up their vows and have you film it. But you are going to be in front of them, and I always look at someone's phone when they're talking to me. Always.
I do too.
And so you want the newest one. It was more noticeable back in the day because the phones look different. Color. Yeah, it's true.
That's true. That it was better when it was like a totally different design. But so I got the new color, the desert titanium. It's like kind of like a sandy gold or something. But I got that one just for that reason, because otherwise, honestly, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference looking at the back of the phone because they kind of look the same.
I'm excited.
I wish that they would do like really cool colors for the pros. Yeah. They only do that for like the 16.
Well, I'm just surprised in general there aren't more colors just in general. What was the one that iPhone mini or what was I heard a really good podcast. What was that phone, Ryan? The one that was like the way downgraded one. When iPhone was like an iPhone 7, iPhone 8. Remember they made those ones that were like bare bones. Yeah. And I heard
an SE maybe.
Maybe that's what it was. I heard a really interesting podcast about a guy talking about getting products into people's hands, and how he used Apple as one of the ultimate examples with the iPhone of making all these phones that people liked, and then eventually making a version that was super colorful and so dumbed down, but so cheap, just so you could see the operating system. And then once they had you with the operating system, everyone had an iPhone.
Yeah.
But they wanted to get you on.
Exactly how it worked, because they were not good phones. The batteries barely made it through a day. They were so slow, but you were like, well, I need more of this, and I just need the nicer one. And so, that's interesting.
And then you're in. He said it's been like there was he talked about whatever the chart was of like the growth of iPhone and how that kind of like really was when it started skyrocketing because it got everyone in. I love them. I love iPhone. I can't believe people still use Androids.
Yeah, I do too.
Although we like Androids because we hack them. I do miss those days. I miss those days of having our whatever the Android phone we both had was that we would hack and put weird programs on.
Absolutely. I have an iPhone, and it's because I'm locked into their ecosystem, and iMessage is just it's unbeatable, and you can't leave it when you're in, which is annoying that they have that. But I, if I'm not like an Apple, fanboy, like I use all of their products, so maybe I am, but I love looking at the new Android phones when it comes out. My probably one of my favorite all-time phones was the Note 7 that caught on fire and exploded. I had that until they made us take them back. And then they were like, no, now they're safe. And then I got it again. And then they were like, no, we lied. They're still blowing up. Come back and give it back to us. And so I had it just for a little bit, but I loved the Note. Like, it was just this giant square. I don't know. I just loved it. So I appreciate Android and what they do, but you just can't beat iMessage.
All right, man. Oh, I'm so bummed. We're out of time. I was going to talk about the fact that you're the best golfer of all my friends. Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Ryan, does it feel good?
Call me back next time. I'd love to tell you about it.
Does it feel good? Like, come on. Does it feel good to know you're the best golfer of the friends? Like, you're going to take you're going to beat Johnny in a head-to-head right now. You're good, and Drez is good. Drez is good.
I don't know. It would be probably any given. I mean, I still feel like I'm new to being good at golf because I've, just recently been able to break 100, and now I'm, flirting with 90 and shot an 88. And so just get that out there real quick.
And a hole-in-one. You have a hole-in-one.
But
Remember,
I just wanted to make sure. And I do have a hole-in-one. Yeah, thank you.
Just so John, if John's listening, John, he has a hole-in-one.
Every time we get to a par 3, I say, man, this hole reminds me a lot. Did I tell you guys about the hole-in-one I had? It just reminds me a lot of it. No, I think John's definitely a more consistent, better golfer than me. But I am having fun, and it is fun too. It's a frustrating sport, though, because it doesn't matter how good you get. You're not, like you've said, until you shoot an 18, there's always strokes left out there. I don't know. It's a maddening, beautiful, terrible game.
Yeah, the day you shoot a 19, I'm still going to tell you left a stroke out there.
Yeah, right.
Don't be too excited.
Couldn't get them all.
All right, dude, have fun at practice. What sport is being played in the background right now?
Oh, we're doing soccer.
Nice.
There's soccer running around. My son hates practice, which I kind of can't blame him. I'm trying to encourage him to do the drills, and but he's like, "Well, this is stupid. I just want to play."
Yeah.
And Allen Iverson felt the same way.
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
You and I felt the same way. Is there a best kids sport I can look forward to? Is there a best one, like for in terms of as a parent watching?
Well, I like basketball because it's inside.
Yeah,
and so obviously when it's a beautiful day for soccer, it's nice. Baseball's the worst, dude. It is the worst. So Piper had her first softball game yesterday, and it was, it's obviously it's your kid. You love it. It's fun, but it's like this sport is tough. And to watch,
it's
even
long.
if the professionals play it, but definitely for the kids, it's like can't throw a strike. So here we go. Walk, air, walk. But basketball, because you're indoors and comfortable. Soccer, I don't love, but it is constant motion, so that is nice.
And if you, like you said, if you get it on a good weather, day.
Yeah, if it's beautiful, absolutely, it can be a blast.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, hey, go enjoy the night. Send me. I'm excited to see the first Marco Polo tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
from the 16th.
Absolutely. Yep. Of course, I scheduled a bunch of work on that day, so I'll be just so angrily working while all I want to do is be messing with my new phone. But we'll get it fired up, and I'll send you reviews.
And don't forget, if you are currently going through a divorce, the positive is if you get remarried, you can have Ryan film ready. What? Now, that's the worst pitch. If you're currently getting divorced and you have all that pain, just know the silver lining.
Don't worry.
Is that Ryan can film your next wedding.
Right.
You're a heartbreak filler. You know what? You end people's heartbreak.
That's right. I give them hope.
You give them hope.
That's what I do. I give them hope for the future.
I love it, brother. Okay, well, hey, take it easy and tell your kids hello after they're done with practice.
All right, we'll do.
See you, man. All right, there he is, Ryan. I love him. He is the man. Let's get back to the studio where I was earlier tonight. Thank you, Ryan.
Kelly's, what are you into?
Man, I forgot to mention off the start, I talk Survivor on Fridays. There's going to be a little bit of Survivor talk at the end, a little bit. Kelly's, what are you into? Remember the other day when I told you there was an animal coming up to our front porch and pooping on the ground, so we put a trap up there? My mother-in-law sent a picture because she came over and saw the droppings, and this morning, it was Grandparents' Day. My mother-in-law came, picked up the kids, took them to school, did breakfast with them at school. It was really cool. So she saw the droppings, and she goes, I think it's something that's not what you think it is. We have a freaking bat, everyone. What do I do? The ante has been upped. I looked today at the trap. It's pooped on top of it. We have in front of our house, the front door, you go out and you look up and it's about a 15, 20 foot ceiling above the front door in this little cove. We got bats. We got freaking bats. What do I do? What do I do? Help me. Help me, Obi-Wans. You're my only hope. How do you... We've got bats. This is my Keller's What Are You Into? Bats. Bats in my belfry. I don't know what to do. Let's go read some comments before we get to Survivor talk. Ian said this, gotta love the white rabbit mentality. Alice in Wonderland, white rabbit. A lot of people are like your wife and father-in-law. They don't grasp the concept that because it has to be done doesn't mean that it can be done right now. Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes things don't get done by me. So that's the part of that's the white rabbit. I'm like the poop brown rabbit with as fast as I do things. Ian went on to say, are you sure it's a squirrel and not, say, a rabbit? Oh, spoiler alert, it's a bat. Different traps and different baits, but similar turds. I'm sure the father-in-law has a game cam you could use to get proper intel. My go-to replacement for miniatures is bulk bin from Magic the Gathering cards and then turning them into pogs or tokens. That's actually a really smart idea. I would have gladly joined your group, bud. Brianna would also. She's into it. That would have been fun, dude. I'm looking for 4 here in Lexington who wants to join my D&D group and let me run a game. Okay, the next sentence, huge. Ian said, there's a book called So You Want to Be a Game Master by Justin Alexander. It's a good read for potential DMs. Sorry about the crowds. Crowd strike. Oh, yeah, that's extra stuff. So You Want to Be a Game Master by Justin Alexander is one of my favorite books I've ever read. Highly recommend it to anyone. His website, The Alexandrian, is a little more like detailed for people who want to learn how to run a game. But So You Want to Be a Game Master is a top-tier book, but like crazy. Roberta says this, there's nothing wrong with deleting a podcast that doesn't feel right to you. Thank you, Roberta. After all, this is your story, and you're welcome to tell it in a way true to yourself. As for dropping the D&D group because of one person, sometimes in our lives we hit that person that's just not healthy for us to be with, spend time with, etc. Even though it meant sacrificing others. If that one relationship was causing distress to you mentally, making the decision to let your group go is imminently healthier for your own well-being. Kudos for recognizing the issue and deciding to go the other direction. Roberta, thank you. I think I needed that. I needed that text because I'm bummed that I'm leaving the group, but inside my heart of hearts, I know it's right. I know it's right. Okay, let's get into Survivor Talk. Survivor Talk. It's spoiler stuff every Friday. Watched last night. I don't have a ton to get into right here, but I want to say this. That was a bad first episode of Survivor. That was a very bad start to the season. The cast seems awesome. The way they started seemed great. I love the new addition instead of Sweat versus Savvy, which I didn't mind. I love the new addition of, okay, one tribe has won their flint and their supplies. Now the other 2 tribes are going to battle it out to see who else gets their supplies. And the third gets nothing. You're going to have to figure out how to make fire by yourself. This year, they just took 2 people, put them in a head-to-head challenge, and the winner got to take home the flint. And so I really enjoyed that. I thought it was good. I think they have a really great thing going with the immunity stuff. They hid boxes around the island, and you find a key to the box, unlock the box, has an immunity idol. But it also has another box inside the box. If you find the key to that box... You give up the immunity idol, find the key to the new box, and now there's a bigger immunity idol that lasts longer. I think it's a really awesome twist this year in the game. But all of it was overshadowed this week by the terrible thing that Survivor is dealing with right now. And Andy is skyrocketing and has skyrocketed up the list at all-time joke players. It's just terrible. We know what Survivor is, and everyone knows what Survivor is. And over the last few years, there's been a bunch of people who have quit the show. And it's been long enough and enough seasons now that whoever's on this cast would have seen a season that aired that showed the quitters. And also, you've got to see how the internet reacted and how everyone reacted to don't quit. And if you don't think you can handle Survivor, don't go on it. And so Andy goes on this show, and guess what? He's on the bottom. And it used to be if you're on the bottom, you fight. That was where you fight. And you figure out how to get to the top. And you weasel your way. And what did Andy do? He just crumbled, and woe is me, and I'm going to now panic, and I'm going to cry, and I'm not going to fight because I don't want to fight. I should be. He said to that one girl, to Rachel, I just figured I'd be someone that I wasn't, like someone else. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, everyone goes into Survivor thinking they're going to win and be like this hero of the game. I think for anything, reality hits like, oh yeah, the weird dream that I had, this is in all life, like the weird dream that I had didn't come true. I actually am going to have to work a little bit for this. It's not just going to be the easiest thing. And he folded. And the problem was, as he folded, he took out a player that would have been way better for television. And John Lovett, this podcast host for Pod Save America, the reason Jeremy's watching this season. And it was a major bummer because John would have been fun in future episodes. And instead, this guy who's dead weight and ruined an episode, smart for his teammates. I can't blame them. They kept him because he's not a threat. In one episode, he buried himself as someone who could never win this season. And now he's just going to be a dead weight. He'll probably be around for a while. I would imagine Andy makes merge. I would imagine he's here for a minute because he's just dead weight. And he's going to just follow. And he showed it that I'm at the bottom. I'll do whatever it takes. All right, well, anyone who's good at this game is just going to use him as a free vote and ally the rest of the game. But it really stunk. There was a really bad start to Survivor. I don't know how they get around this in casting, but they have a major issue right now with casting people who are quitting the game or who can't even emotionally handle the early stages of the game. I have no problem weeks down the road when you're tired and famished and you've been through a lot and you've gone through relationships that have been up and then you backstab someone. I do not mind when people are having their emotional moments, day 14, 15, 16, 17. I get that. That makes sense to me. Day 2, day 3, day 4. Come on, get out of here. Shouldn't have been on the show. Okay, that's it. I do love Survivor. Regardless, I love it. I'm so excited for this season. I think there were some really awesome cast members this year. I think the season overall is going to be great. That first episode stunk, though. It was booty cheeks. All right, goodbye.